Good evening, I'm Colgan, and you're very welcome to the Business Enterprise Show. We're coming to you live from the Top of the Town studios in downtown Cavan on Ireland's first live web-based TV business programme. And we're watched by almost 2 million people in 212 countries. Now, an awful lot of people often asks us what goes on behind the scenes in Cavan TV, how it's all put together. So we decided to get the boss in, Brian Daly, the man who owns both Cavan TV, Drumlin Media and all its other platforms. And he's just going to give us some updates on the technology behind what we do and the plans for the future. So Brian, I can't really say you're very welcome because it's your own place. You can sit where you want. You could kick me out and you could kind of sit in this chair if you wanted. But you're welcome anyway.
Oh, well, thank you, Colm. No, my comfort zone is in the control room and having the technical background, much more comfortable behind the scenes and help and support because people don't realise what's required for a presenter to put themselves in front of, as you've shown now on the intro. We are reaching over 200 countries, 200 and I think it was 16 to 118 at the last count, and 120 within a week. So it's phenomenal the success that we have to date, but it entails a lot of hours.
And these countries, they're defined by Google Stats. It's not something that kind of your auntie rang you up and said, yeah, we're all listening out here in Taiwan. You know, they're actual guaranteed Google Stats.
Oh, of course, yeah. Well, the advantage of a web-based platform is that all the stats are verifiable. Sometimes you hear stats and they're based on people, reports that they send back in, with say the print media and the terrestrial televisions. They've 1,000 people or something, and they take the average and then they extrapolate that up to the population. So it's really an extrapolated figure, where ours are verifiable figures, which are completely different. It means that if we say that it's 120 countries within a week, I can show you a printout, or if you don't believe me, we can show you the thing on screen. So that's the power of the web at the moment.
The power of traceability on the internet, as Gary Glitter found out to his peril.
Well, politics should go because it would mean that there be complete transparency within every forum if everyone went web-based.
Well, that's assuming they turned up to answer the questions to begin with.
Oh, well, that's it, yeah.
That's it. Anyway, just going back to the 212 countries, somebody said it to me earlier that you're making that up, in fact. So there's only 196 countries in the UN, but of course Google, they class principalities and territories as countries as well. So in case anyone out there is kind of spot on their geography, that's part of the reason. Now, people don't just tumble against or stumble upon, to use a social media platform, stumble upon Cavan TV. How did they find out about it?
Well, originally, if you go back to the origins, Drumlin Media was the production company. I had given up employment to take up the role of producing videos, corporate work. The FLA was also a great help in that it was here for 3 years, and it left that we were in a position to stream a lot of the events live. Chapter 1 through Niall Walsh and Joe Keenan, they run a music event every second Thursday night in Chapter 1. We covered that for a couple of years, and it gave us the experience of streaming live to the web. So that was the origins of it. And once we had that developed, then it became apparent that there was a need for the Cavan diaspora abroad wanted to tune in, and hence the origins of Cavan TV.
And now Cavan TV probably is the best known, and the huge customer base in Cavan, and also the fact that we're based in Cavan, that is the highlight one. But you also have platforms in most of the other counties, including Dublin.
Of course, we identified early on that parochial things are very important, and people, if you're showcasing something and it's a Cavan origin, you'd find that people from Leitrim or Scum, and even our close neighbours, Meath, Monaghan, wouldn't have as the same interest as Cavan people would be. A lot of it is down to the GAA, because a lot of the counties is but the only rivalry that you'd have, somewhat in rugby and somewhat in soccer, but the GAA, because it's parish based and it has the league and championship, those rivalries are there for years. So if you're trying to showcase something from County Cavan, you won't get Meath people, but it become apparent that if we produce something in Meath, at least we're able to show it on meadtv.com, or in Dublin, put on dublincitytv.com. It meant that the people could buy in a lot better to it. And from a marketing point of view, if some of the companies, the likes of PC Worlds or even some of the local electrical retailers wanted to sell the smart TVs, which we can talk about that maybe a little bit later, but the development of all that technology, it means that they can log in and watch a lot of the local content on their ordinary TV in the sitting room.
Now, your viewers, are they mainly diaspora? Is watching Cavan TV kind of the equivalent of queuing up for the Anglo-Celtic in Cricklewood on a Thursday morning?
There's 50%, roughly 50% of the population from Ireland. Now, the Google set are not specific. In America, for example, it gives every state, and it gives the viewership for each state, and one or two other countries similarly. But in Ireland, it doesn't give the county-based stats. It just, so there's 50% of our viewers in the Republic of Ireland, and the balance is throughout the world. And of course, the key countries where Ireland would have the diaspora, the likes of England, America, Australia, and France and Germany, and Bahrain as well. There seems to be quite an upsurge in viewers from Bahrain. I think that's what we developed the Gaelic Football Views programme. But also in Japan now, from Paul introduced the stripes and had on the green room a number of times.
I thought he invented them. I thought he created them in his laboratory in the back of his house.
Well, they are sort of information. You know, the freedom of information. We're not allowed to disclose all that information. There are actually were a creation here in the green room, and fair play to Paul. He got the right ingredients together.
He recognised talent.
He did. I think some of his DNA is also in a number of them as well. So that's probably one of the reasons for their success.
Why not? And it's the likes of the Stripes who have gone mega, and shows how, having started at something as small and as local as Cavan TV, the actual power of Cavan TV and internet TV in general.
Well, the internet gives you access to. You can view it at any time, anywhere, and that's one of the key successes of what we do. It means that people in Australia who would be 12 hours ahead, and in America anything from 5 to 8 hours behind, it means that the live viewing isn't as high at the moment, because people aren't fully conscious, but they have the option to view at a later stage, and the viewer stats subsequent to the live transmission in 2014, it's astounding in a sense, because we've been following them from the very beginning. And when you look at a month's viewership in 2010 compared to now, you'd have nearly more in 3 or 4 hours in 2014 than we had in a month in 2010.
Yeah. And I suppose TV as a medium is changing dramatically. The old terrestrial TV was turned off, I think, sometime last year. So everything is satellite based, and now satellite is nearly coming to the end of it. Everything is going to be web based, to the extent that most of the big channels like Sky or the they all have their media players. The GA, the big furore has been kicked up at the moment because Sky bought a couple of matches. The big defence that GA have as well, you can watch everything free on is it the RTE player or the iPlayer? Well, it was the RTE player, whatever the technical term is. That's where most people are starting to watch now, on demand when they want it.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, when you said the analogues was switched off last year. They're still going digital on the terrestrial, but the life expectancy of that is anything from 5 to 10 years, because the mobile platform is the route everyone's taken. For example, BBC are changing over to basically what we're doing, in that the BBC Three, people know BBC One, BBC Two, but BBC Three are ceasing their terrestrial transmission, and that channel is going to move to the mobile platform. And a lot of the companies now, even Pepsi, for example, they had advertising on the mainstream terrestrial TV during the Super Bowl, but they are stopped doing that. They are going a mobile platform. So apart from the viewership, the advertising, which is a key ingredient for the success of the companies, that's all moving away from terrestrial. And once that goes, then the base for terrestrial, which is a lot more expensive platform to provide, because you need aerials and top of mountains everywhere, and from the larger companies, it's a lot more expensive to provide on the long term, whereas people can see the exact same thing from anywhere in the world at a far cheaper cost.
And I suppose if you take, I suppose, a major broadcaster, we all know, would be Sky. Any of the ads you see for Sky, you rarely see a family sitting around watching the telly. It's somebody watching on their mobile, or on their tablets, or on their laptop. Like the Sky is obviously pushing people towards that, which I suppose can only help your product.
Well, of course, with Sky, naturally enough, they have a vested interest to promote it, because they have the network through satellite to deliver all the programs. But a lot of the likes of RTE have satellite, and but satellites are only slightly better than the terrestrial, like the aerial-based TV, in that they have certain beams that they can send down to Europe or somewhere where you mightn't have access to South America or North America, unless people decide to buy them over there, whereas with web you can get it from anywhere. So
anywhere,
in a sense, that form of TV is also on the decline, in that next 10 years it won't be necessary to get television from a satellite either. The mobile platform is really the route that everyone is taking, because it's a more flexible medium, as you say. You see the next of Aircom advertising now, UPC, all those advertising a lot of the things that people would normally associate with ordinary television. You can get those. You can record 4 programs, and even the need for recording isn't necessary now, because you do a search for them, and all the programs are there.
And are there. As I said, you have platforms in most counties, but I suppose Cavan TV would be the parent from the actual broadcasting point of view. The programs on TV on Cavan TV, what are they? How do they come about? And what future plans are there?
Of course, with it being our base here in Cavan, we set about we created the studio and all the facilities here, but we wanted to ensure that we would have an economic model that would be able to move to other platforms. But Cavan is now gaining a lot of success. We have 7 programs at the moment, and there's about 2 or 3 more. The gestation period for programs takes quite a while, because it is a new idea. It's difficult for people to get their heads around it, and to get new programs, it takes a little bit longer. But we have about 3 programs that within the next couple of months that we'll have them on Cavan TV. And basically
There'll be programs in development, like
in development, and because presenters, as you know, like you have experience of working in Dublin on as DJ, and also on
those were the days. Those were the days.
Yeah, but people say those are the days, but it meant that you were in front of people, you were a show person. Like you were entertaining people, so you had the experience. There's not as big an audience in the studio as you'd have at a disco or some of those places. And you're also on the community radio in Dublin and successful here in Cavan. And it means that you have a good knowledge base, you know presentation, you know how to get content. So that people don't realise that there's a lot of hours associated with getting the programme together, securing people for the programmes and working with them afterwards. So we have that in place in Cavan.
Apart from my programme, what other programmes go on?
For example, the Monday, we had the premium sports channel was all about sport, that was created by Owen and then successfully taken over by Louise, and she's had enormous success with all the key people in all the key sports in the country. And but then we identified that there was
Louise is kind of the Marty Morrissey of Cavan.
She's
without the forward.
Yeah. And but then it became apparent that with the amount of GAA that people were looking for, we had to break out.
Nothing to do with the fact that that they were getting good at GAA in Cavan.
Well, they are now. Well, we could say we have the Stripes, so and they're on the way up, and we had Whereabouts on the way up, and several other people, and now the GAA were dealing with us.
So once you touch Cavan TV, you're a success. Is that the way it is?
It
has absolutely nothing to do with Terry Hyland put into the team. That's irrelevant.
He feels that he can't let the team down by saying on Cavan TV that they didn't win. You see, so it's all. But we'll say the Monday programme. We have one programme on a Monday, the Gaelic Football Views with Damien and Mickey, and they have an absolute passion. You know, people that look at it, it's almost as if you're sitting in their living room because they're so passionate about it and they talk so fluently about it. And now they're also radio reporters as well from appearing with us. Then on the Wednesday, the first show is that Louise is the All About Sport, and that encompasses. She had 2 different sports on today, and she's motorsport next week. And then Paul Cox, of course, he's synonymous with music and arts, and Paul's show is phenomenally successful because he has artists from all with Skype interviews. It's not even just a Cavan now. It's all Ireland, England. We've had interviews from Austria, America. So basically, we have the capacity to deal with people anywhere in the world. And then your programme, you're working with Cavan Chamber. It's a great asset to the Chamber of Commerce is trying to promote business. You're also assisting them in getting businesses into the studio to showcase. Last week you saw the success, even last week, which is the most frequent one, like the amount of and it could maybe deal with social media also, which is a great contribution. So that's the Wednesdays, and then the Fridays is a Cavan News and Views, which is all the things that's happening in Cavan with Anya Duffy, and she'd
be the Mary Kennedy of Cavan.
She would be, yeah, and she sources content. Like we've had some very, very noteworthy news. We had the whistleblower on twice. We had the turf cutting, is controversial at times. We had Michael Harding on. And of course, that's sponsored by Easton, which is important within the programme. It gives options for businesses to support programmes, and we have to acknowledge the support that Easton has given to the programme.
On his programme, that would cover the local stories, and it would also cover, we'll say, national and international stories that would have a bearing or an effect on Cavan.
Yeah. Well, as you know, there's lots of people all over the world, and Anya really has her ear to the ground, and anything that's going, I get a phone call, and I want a camera here, I want a camera there. So it means that the production company that's behind Cavan TV ends up now, we're very busy in supporting the programme content. And then after that, we have a fashion and lifestyle show, and the final show on the Friday is the country and western one with Seamus Quinn, and everyone knows the country and western is very, very popular, and Seamus has spoken to all the top artists and again and again, so it means that they're more than comfortable, and they see the value of of working with Country Time at Quinn to showcase, and he does the gig guide that everyone tunes into, that is now famous both here in the studio and out in the community, where people can listen to and know what's going on.
So you kind of have a lot of programs sandwiched between the two gods of Ireland, GAA and country music.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
like everything revolves around that.
Yeah,
coming together with the Garth Brooks Country and Western Singer in the GAA grounds, which is Croke Park. You know, so that's kind of the epitome of it all.
Well, I think you see the GAA, because it's so community based. I don't think anything happens nearly without one or two people from the GAA being involved in it, because they're involved in everything. So if you went to any event, you'd see the T-shirts and jerseys and everything, and if you're stuck, apart from, like, Irish people are renowned for, if you're in trouble, sure, we'll talk about the weather. and then if that fails, you can talk about the GAA.
Talk about the GAA. So some of them programs, I suppose, would be Cavan specific, others would be generic, which would suit the other platforms. But do you have any plans to do, we'll say, a Meath News and Views, a Dublin City News and Views? Or crime watches, they call it.
Well, in Dublin you might... no, it would never have to be fair. Of course, the key thing was to get Cavan TV firmly established, naturally enough it's in our own area, and with the range of programmes we have and the ones we have planned, it means then that we have a solid base. We have an economic future with advertising, programme sponsorship and banner ads for the website. It means that we will have financial security within the development of the programme.
Is advertising, needless to say, no advertising is easy to come by, but do you have a particular difficulty in looking for advertising and sponsorship? Because I suppose the first thing you have to do is explain the medium. Does that cause a problem, or is the penny starting to drop now that web-based TV is the future, or do you still have to explain it to advertisers?
It certainly isn't an easy task. One of the key things that while everyone has the smartphone and the tablets and the PCs for viewing, it really won't be until Apple bring out their iTV, because if you can see what happened with the mobile phone, people used the phone just as a phone until Apple brought out their smartphone, and then everyone had virtually every facility on the phone. And when Apple bring out their iTV, there are a number of TVs out at the moment, and it's only when people start seeing it in their sitting room that they can view the web, then they'll think, I don't want to view that when I have to go home and sit in the corner of the room or watch the unit in the corner of the room. That's the vast majority of people at the moment. There'd probably be 85% of people would still want to watch what we call television on the television in the sitting room.
So if you didn't have a television in your home, where would you point your furniture at? That's what I always say. Now, of course, the fact that it's web TV, broadband has a huge part to play. And there are some parts in Ireland and in some parts of Cavan where broadband is excellent, and there's other parts where, you know, it's not up to scratch.
No, naturally, the platform is delivered over broadband, and you see some of the likes of Aircom and UPC and even Smith's Cable Division here, they support us with the broadband, and they have fibre-based broadband. Like for example, we have 2 fibres going by our studio here, but to get a fibre connection, the cost is phenomenal. And it's amazing that they don't learn from the older days when Telecom Éireann or whatever you call it was years ago.
Department of Post
you have to wait. You used to have to wait 2 years to get a telephone line.
That's right, yeah.
And give it to people, and give them a fibre connection and charge them for what they use on it. Like every phone company now is pushing mobile phone special offer, because it's no good a person not having a mobile. Some of them have 2 and 3 phones now on the different ones, because if you're going to a different area, or maybe you have some friends on another one, and you can have 3 mobile phones, and you select which one from a cost point of view. give the people the broadband and charge them then over time. You can minimise the charge in the beginning to get them, I don't mean hooked in a sense, but there's the 2 fibres going by the studio here, and it could be 10 or 12,000 to get a connection onto it. They're not going to get a cent from me having those fibre
And of course,
cables
it's
going
not
by
just going by you, it's going by the entire of Connolly Street, and I don't know.
There's a couple of kilometres of
Probably be talking a couple of hundred potential customers there, yeah.
to be thousands in the town, and they aren't going to engage with them. Give them the facility, and they'll use it eventually. People have phones; they use all the features on the phone. Before that, they didn't use any and now they have given and it'll work. It's a formula that has worked in the past, and I'm surprised that people just haven't. Maybe the capacity wasn't there, but it is now in the country, and the government are rolling out. There's even a new initiative announced in the
a new broadband initiative announced. Well, my God, this must be with the 15th now, and since the coalition came into power, broadband is kind of the new pothole. Yes, we'll get you broadband. It gets announced in every single kind of.
The local elections are coming up, so that could be to do with it.
How could I have forgotten?
There was one thing I want to mention, Colin, before before when it was social media. People sometimes forget, while we have all those, we have broadband, we have the programs, and we have comprehensive customer base. Getting the message out to people through social media is very, very important. The likes of Facebook and Twitter, emailing is virtually a thing of the past. And one time people, unless you had an email account, you're nearly nothing.
And in the old days, unless you had an ad in the Golden Pages, you were never taken seriously.
And does anyone look at the Golden Pages now?
And everything is about websites and sites. But how can you see social media building up the brand that is Drumlin Media and Cavan TV? What needs to be done?
Well, first of all, the presenters are a key ingredient in that, because number one, they know their guests and they know the marketplace, because they're specialists in the programs that they deliver. They would have built up connections over the years. So them marketing their individual programs through social media is also very important. Like, you work through the Chamber of Commerce as well. That network is very important to you. The different other presenters have their own, both the music and sports and I would say the fashion and lifestyle. Each of them, a lot of the guests have a fairly substantial social network, and we're getting likes from the guests on the show. As I mentioned earlier, like your guest last week, she must have sat up all night tweeting, and she was so delighted to be able to get showcasing her products on your show. It meant that she sat tweeting all the time about the benefits she got from the programme. So apart from the presenters doing the thing, the guests also, and we have media students in here from the Cavan Institute and a few of the secondary schools, and they, particularly Charlie, she is the girl that's assigned, and Charlie's been on a few of the shows, and she has a good social network within the social media, and she's a great campaigner for us.
And potential sponsors, potential advertisers, A, how do they get in touch with you? And B, what's in it for them?
Well, we have now a person in place. Angie Sutherland is involved because she has done a lot of social media training, and so she is in effect a specialist within that area, and with being up to date on the marketing methodologies of web-based TV, because it's a different sales technique. Because if you're selling a newspaper, you can bring the newspaper with you. But if you're selling online stuff, it's not as easy, and people say, how do I see it, or where do I see it? And so it's only in its infancy now, but it's becoming part of people's consciousness now, and certainly having somebody out there calling on people is creating the awareness. And then, as I said earlier, with the change in the likes of the BBCs and a lot of the other companies moving towards the streaming. People will hear words like that or buzzwords, and they say, "But sure,
how can they contact you?"
Well, there's through the social media, of course. Cavan is on Twitter, it's on Facebook, it has, of course, the email drumnamedia@gmail.com or info@cavantv.com. And the mobile numbers on the website. The website is a great resource. Most people have websites now, so if people look into the website, it means that they can get all the programming, they can get the presenters, and they get the contact details. So
contact information,
it means that they can enjoy the programming as well as to get contact details for us.
Well, Brian Daly of Drumlin Media and Cavan TV, thank you for your time tonight, because now we know what happens, what goes on behind the scenes here in Cavan TV and in Drumlin Media. I've been Colm Colgan. You've been watching the Business Enterprise Show. Thanks. Good night.